Nachos crew. It is Paul, Dr. Nacho, and we're going to answer the most important question in dentistry. Is it better to start up a practice or buy an existing one? Is it better to start up a practice or buy an existing one? Pretty important content piece with our key resource and sponsor, Ali Oromchian from the Dental B School. Ali, before I introduce you, tell me, what's the best answer? Start up or buy one from scratch?
Yeah, great question, Paul. I mean, honestly, it's either one, because
I do not accept that. What does the study show? I'm just joking. So that is true. You can have tacos or nachos. They both fit. So welcome, Ali, to Talking Nachos, key resource and sponsor, founder of the Dental B School. I like to say, you know, I've been a dentist for 18 years. I would go to these exhibits with my dad back in the day, Greater New York meeting. We'd walk up and down the aisles, meeting people. So let's pretend it's a virtual version. What do you do, Ali, and how do you help dentists?
Yeah, no, thanks, Paul. And I like that you've got the COVID beard going on. And yours looks a little bit better than mine, but
I like grow mine out like yours, but.
Yeah, so this is from this morning, man.
Oh, nice. That's impressive. That's impressive.
So look, like you said, you know, as a dental attorney, I've seen it all. And the thing that I'll tell you that I think is most important is to really get empowered and want to become a dental practice owner, regardless of whether it's COVID or not. And what I see is, you brought up this topic about your dad. Look, my wife is a dentist. She went through this whole thing when she got out of residency, when she was trying to decide, do I associate for a while? Do I buy something? Do I do a startup? And that decision is so difficult. It's so difficult. And there's such little business information out there for people to really learn from and be able to use as they're starting their careers. That was one of the reasons, we started the Dental B School, because we wanted to provide that education for the simple fact, right? For the simple fact that we wanted people to get empowered to become a practice owner. And I'll tell you, Paul, the best thing about dentistry, the thing that I think separates dentistry from all other medical professions, is the fact that you can get to financial independence, you can have the lifestyle you want, you can do your profession as you had planned for it, and still be able to do everything else by being a practice owner. And the reality is I've spoken to so many associates these last few months because of COVID, and they were either fired or their hours were cut. And the topic keeps coming back to, how can I take control? How can I get control of my career so that I'm not relying on someone else, but I can have my own office, I can have my own practice, whether it's an acquisition or startup, right? Like, I mean, either one can work. It's a little bit more difficult to do a startup these days for a general practitioner because, there's a lot less banks giving loans. But man, if you're a specialist, you should do a startup. If you're if you're a GP and you want to buy a practice, boy, I mean, jump on it. There's a lot of good practices.
So, many people, maybe it's the first time you get to see me. Hey, maybe it's the 9,000th time. I'm a practicing dentist, own 2 practices. I'm a dental practice broker selling practices. We help coach dentists in the beginning of their career. I speak, I do all these things. Also, huge nacho enthusiast, like the name says. But what I want to share, I'm so surprised that there's any interest in your company, Ali, because they teach us all this in dental school. They prepare us so well for all these decisions. I'm surprised there's any interest. I'm just kidding. I always say, I have 2 small humans who live in my house, commonly known as children. And I always say, if dental school taught parenting classes, they would teach you everything except how to feed the baby. And then when you got home, they'd be like, I thought this was important. So I really believe in this concept of getting responsible information, because when we get Dear Dr. Nacho Abby emails, or I get messages from dentists, they don't say, I can't figure out how to do a crown, or I'm not so sure how to do a denture. They say, I took a job that basically lied to me. I bought a practice that was supposed to have 1,000 active patients that had 100. I bought a practice where, you're a dental focused attorney like my good friend, Rob Montgomery. I bought a practice where I didn't get the right asset purchase agreement, and now the seller opened up down the street. So all of these
100%.
Drop Nacho stories. So share with us why you guys created this Dental B School and what people can learn by it. I'm actually share my screen and show people this while we're doing this.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit it on the head. As a practicing attorney, that's what I saw too. I mean, I saw so many situations where young dentists were getting into practices that they really had little information about, and they were misled, or they didn't have enough information. They didn't do their due diligence. We had situations where People were opening up practices without marketing plans, without, you know, any sort of real strategy. And so we wanted to create an institution, Paul, that had no strings attached to it, meaning it's not a, you know, it's not tied to any company. There's no one person who's sponsoring it. There's no one person who's funding it. Everything, you know, we wanted to create it so that we had the best speakers from around the country. So we have bankers, CPAs, insurance people, people from around the country who are experts in what they do. And all they're doing is they're providing this education via video, because it's just easier to do that and get the information than it is to read all the time. And the reality is that our goal is simply to teach folks that you can become a dental practice owner, you can be successful at it. It's not rocket science, but you do need to know some details before you get into the process. Because if you don't, as you know, there's so many traps. I mean, as a dental broker,
I would say, Ali, it's not rocket science, but it's not rocket science. I'm the owner of a practice. You know, your wife is. Until you're a parent, you don't know what it's like to be a parent. So you can give a lot of, I can say things, I'm not gonna let my kid watch an iPad, and then I'm letting him watch the iPad all the time. But as a practice owner, it's not rocket science, but it is death by 1,000 cuts science, which means that, so I brought up your website here. I wanna talk more, but share with us, this is the website, and what's the special Nacho offer that you have for our community? If we have some people listening there and say, hey, I wanna learn more about this, I wanna get prepared, I wanna buy practice in a year, 2 years, next month, what could they learn here on this website?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the offer is really compelling, and the reason it's compelling, and I'll tell it to you in a second, is because, you know, you've heard this from the dental banks, right, Paul, where they say less than 1% of dental practices fail. Well, that is true, except I always say there's a lot more of them who suffer, and our goal with Dental B School is to make sure that they're not suffering because of the same thing you just mentioned. It's not rocket science, but it's a lot of hard work, and if we can eliminate some of those issues up front just by teaching some things, then we've done our job. So typically for a year's subscription to all the content, and we're adding new stuff all the time, it's $1,495. But, you know, for, you know, a side of, you know, guacamole, we've got the offer at $7.95 for the first month. And you can just binge watch all the videos and get all the information you need and reach out to all the people. So if the folks watching, if they text the word Nacho20, right, Nacho20 to the phone number 44222, they'll get this offer, and we're excited to offer it to them. And I hope you come on board and do some videos for us, Paul, because, you know, the more we teach, you know, the better we all are. So.
I don't know if you noticed, but I like to talk, so that's not a problem for me to share. But I also like to, I mean, what you guys are doing, first, a couple things I wanted to add is, I love online content. We have on-demand Nachos. See, first of all, you can learn on the run, literally on the run, while you're running, while you're walking, while you're on the treadmill, while you're doing stuff. So no one's going to walk around unless it's colonial times. Maybe George Washington had this and read to you, right? No one's going to read a book to you and follow you. So you can put this in your AirPods, and learn on the run. And I think this is the type of stuff. And this is a concept I was recording this morning. Learn it before you need it, right? When everyone goes to have a baby, you don't take the baby home and say, maybe now I should get a crib. No, you get the crib beforehand. So practice owners, some of them reach out to me and I want to give them a giant virtual hug. They say, I'd like a plan for when I buy my practice. They say, okay, when are you buying it? 3 weeks from now, right? You got to learn before this. So whether you're a dental student, a new dentist, someone buying a second or third practice, also, it looks like you have small humans who live in your house, Ali. How many children do you have?
I do. I have 3 little girls. And
yes, I
like
got my
you
girl
said,
dad
there's no
t-shirt
manual.
on here. So we have I got my girl dad t-shirt on here. We have
oh, I love that.
two daughters who live in our house. We're legally obligated to take care of them. I think that's the deal. But you make adjustments, some people call them improvements, on your second child than your first child. So I own multiple practices, and there's errors I made. In 2011, there was no dental Facebook group. I had to learn it on the streets. And let you know, the streets were not so friendly. So I was taken advantage of by brokers, but it was on me. I didn't have this information. So to create awareness on this is so key. So can you share with us one more time, what's that text code for people to reach out to you to learn more about this deal?
Sure, yeah, it's Nacho20, so Nacho 20, and then the number is 44222. And if you just text that word to that number, you'll get the offer. And like you said, it's all about teaching. It's all about education. It's all about avoiding these mistakes. And that's really the reality.
I like this.
There's
So I'm going to
nothing
say
better than to be an owner.
Nachos 20. Nachos 20 with an S. Ariel told me, text the word
Yep.
Nachos 20 with an S. Perfect. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is awesome. I met one of your founders at an ASDA event. The more we care and share and do with this, the better. I mean, there's so many, I always say there's so many patients for dentists to succeed. Dentists need help, and they need multiple resources, multiple areas where they can go to for responsible information.
Yeah.
I love that you've done this. Before we jump off, Ali, you have any parting words for our Nacho community, or maybe a one thing? I love a one thing where maybe, hey, if you're about to buy a practice, startup or acquisition, this is one thing you should be aware of, or just anything you'd like to share with us.
The thing I would say is this: if you are on the sidelines, if you're associating and you've been thinking and wanting to become a practice owner, whether it's a startup or acquisition, don't hesitate. Do it. Just feel confident that you can get it done. It's a lot of work, but take the first step, and then it's amazing what happens when you start working with good advisors around the country, because that's really the reality when you've worked so hard to get through school with all, I saw some recent posts, Paul, about, student loans and young students asking about, $300,000-$400,000. I had one last year that had $970,000 of student loans. And I'll tell you, you can't pay that off and get to financial independence working for someone else. Right? You cannot do it. You got to have your own practice, and we'll help you do that. And I know, Paul, you're doing a lot to do that. So my parting word would be: get empowered, become a practice owner, and find the right people to help you.
I love that. I mean, I talk about JFO, which is just find out, and just find out about your dream. We have all these resources. I'm going to sound like that guy, who sit and say, I had to walk uphill to school both ways, but I'm 42. We didn't have these nice things when I was 25. We didn't have Facebook groups and blogs and podcasts. It was very difficult to source this information. So while there's tremendous challenges with student debt and dental school challenges, there's also tremendous opportunities to learn before you need it. So I appreciate Ali, you guys being a key resource and sponsor. Look forward to collaborating with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Paul. Bye, everyone.